I'd like to call to order Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Monday, April 15th, 2024. The first item on the agenda was to be an update on first quarter financials. Unfortunately, Mr. Buchelbach could not be here tonight. However, each of you should have received a printout of all the financials for the first quarter. So this will give you an opportunity to review them, and if you have any questions, formulate those and send those forward to Ms. Michael, who will then forward them on. And then in the beginning of May, we will have him actually come and just go through it with us. And additionally, I just want to thank everyone that came last week to come to the NICOM webinar on funding your government. And I think it's going to be helpful to us as we go through this and, quarterly, to make sure that when we get to the budget season again, it's a much smoother process in 2024. That's my hope. The next item would be the Waste Committee presentation. I'll turn that over to Mayor McCarthy.
Thanks, Madam President. And City Clerk, I made copies of the local law dealing with waste. Just have these for City Council.
I think we have those in our packet.
I think that one's in our
Yeah, we have that. We put that one. They put that one in our packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an extra one.
Oh, okay.
That's just a working draft of some of the possible amendments, and this is a quick summary sheet. Get to the council members. We went through the budget process, which was not quite as smooth as any of us would have liked. One of those points of contention was trash fee. We have, really within the city of Schenectady, a great service that we provide for the residents. That has evolved over time from the last big waste controversy was in the 70s, when the service of the city was the garbage men would go into the back of your house, pick up the garbage, bring it out to the curb, empty it, and then return the can to the rear of your property or wherever you stored it. And to increase the efficiency, they ended the carry-back service, which created, again, considerable public debate and discussion. We somehow got through that and continued to go forward. But if you look at the city code today, it really doesn't reflect the reality within the market. So, they talk about, and Paul Fund is here also, and they hit some additives to my narrative. There are things in terms of criteria that's supposed to be at the curb, supposed to be clear bags, supposed to be certain criteria for material that is put out there. And the reality in the market, in the field, does not reflect what's in the code. So where part of this has been the discussion on the fee structure, we have to look fundamentally at what the law says and what the criteria for garbage collection is. And there's some state regulations that are coming out now that are being updated from DEC in terms of the criteria that we're to use for garbage collection. One of the items is electronic waste, that we're not supposed to pick that up anymore. So that has to be handled in a separate process. But in our discussions that Council President sent there, Councilmember DeToro, one of the things talked about consistently is that we have to do part of this is an education campaign. So it's to tell people what the service is, but to make them aware of some of the costs, some of the efficiencies, some of the inefficiencies, and how do you improve the overall delivery of service and hopefully reduce the cost. And we have the peripheral image of the city, which is litter, where it's out there, it's far too prevalent, and how do we get people to assume some responsibility to take care of their own property, their own building, help out a little bit on their block, because everybody doing a little bit makes a big difference. And about a decade ago, we had started a campaign here, Begins With Me. It starts with me. And I believe that that is still the basis for something that we could do, where we ask people to help out a little bit. We did a video, which is available, where you take the It Starts With Me, the M, you flip it over, and as opposed to me, it becomes we, so that it's a community involvement. But if you look at the education campaign as an ongoing effort, something we have to map out, ask for everybody's support, and it really goes beyond what we can do just from city employees. It has to be broad-based community engagement that makes sense, that people buy into. The next component are the penalties. Today, waste violation the waste penalty is a violation. I'm going to ask the council in this process, and determine what the timing is to change that, where the current one for garbage that's generated outside the city is brought in here is treated only as a violation, that be moved to an unclassified misdemeanor, so that the penalty, the fine structure is stronger, and that we're sending a message that we're going to take that seriously in terms of holding people accountable and creating a level of deterrence, so that we're not having people take advantage of the resources within the city where they're not contributing to reducing the cost. Something the council will have to look at and decide are collection containers, and we've had a lot of discussion in the committee. The simpler thing is the old tin garbage can that everybody had, that you put it out, it was kind of a standard size. Now there's a wide variety of items that are available on the market, where you can, I think, still get some of the old-fashioned aluminum garbage cans, but most of them are plastic. They have removable tops, they have tops that are hinged, some that are rectangle, some that are circular. What are we going to set as a standard for people so that they know what is acceptable here and fits in the overall plan for waste collection and disposal? And it's both for, we call garbage, for the MSW, the municipal solid waste, and recyclables. And we're all aware that wasn't that long ago, recyclables we made a little bit of money on, or they cost us a little bit of money, but we basically broke even. Today, the recyclables are about $9 a ton more than MSW. And it's something where the market can shift dramatically in that as technology improves or the value of some of the products shifts. But we have to be aware of those scenarios and how do we plan and be able to deal with what's happening today in the market, and then also build enough flexibility in our collection process and fee structure to take advantage of shifts in the market down the road. Outlined here, we can do the cans, bags, different scenarios that we have to look at, come up with a scenario that everybody would agree to. But the collection of the actual material, the MSW is the general term for municipal solid waste. Other major components that we have to talk about and decide how we're going to deal with are the yard waste, the recyclables, which we used to refer to as tin, plastic, and glass, and then paper. And those, again, some of the metal products are actually increasing in value now. We had a little discussion last year with the white goods coming on the schedule. Now we only pick them up one day a month. We're still virtually not picking any of those up because the value in the market has gone, so that scrappers pick them up, other people take it. And we used to have that with paper when we did the source separation. When the price of paper was up, people would put their paper out and crews would go around and pick it up and the containers are empty. You know, what's the empty container doing out the curb? Well, it's people went around and picked it up. And then the other side of it is the electronics, which can be very expensive to dispose of. They can be hard to recycle. There are value in a lot of these in terms of component parts, and some of the market is shifting in that for, we're getting rid of those, Paul, now at pretty much a break-even point.
Yes.
We lose a little bit in terms of where we used to have to pay for that. The market has shifted so that, again, it's more of a break-even. I say break-even, it's not costing us money, but we have to have the staff compile all the stuff, shrink wrap it, put it on a pallet. So there's a labor factor there that we shouldn't overlook. And then it's coming up with a process that people can understand and feel comfortable with in a fee structure. Currently, we're $288 a pickup point. There are some discounts in that for individuals who, handicapped veterans, seniors. We have to look at a base fee with additional fees based on quantity and volume. And so discussion where everybody agrees what the staff refer to in a slang manner as the jackpots, where you pull up in front of a house and there's 2.5 tons of material there. We all know that that is wrong in terms of the fee structure. How do we separate that and where do we draw the lines for it? You have to go back to the size of the containers, and so if we have a certain amount is there, and if you're putting out extra material, what is it? Do we give people, things been talked about is this certain amount of stickers, so they're mailing out with a tax bill, or once a year there would be stickers that would be given to homeowners. So if you had an additional item that wouldn't fit in the can, wouldn't go in a bag, you could put one of the stickers on it. If you use those stickers up, then you would have to buy them either here at City Hall, or we work an arrangement with some local retailers, and whether that would be $5 for a sticker, $10 for a sticker, depending on the size and quantity of the material or item that's being disposed of. And so there's a number of variables that are going to have to come back to the council for final decision. One asking for is to change the penalties as we go through this, is to look at the size and type of containers, and then we look at the fee structure, which is, you know, the simpler thing is, okay, we just raised the base fee, be done with it. If you want to build some discounts in it for people who are more compliant, and then do we do a sticker system? Do we do some other method to appropriately allocate the cost to individual or property owners that are driving our costs? And there are a number of variables there, and so don't want to talk too long, open up for any discussion or comments that Mr. LaFond has. that we move through this now in a process so that hopefully this will also start some public discussion where we've had primarily internal meetings looking at this. There's been some public narrative, but to look at it and again build on a collection system that again is still highly efficient, delivers a great service to the city of Schenectady, but to do it in a manner that covers our costs and enables us to go forward in a manner not only picking up the garbage, but hopefully message for general litter and image control or improvement throughout the city as a whole. With that, I would open up to questions or comments.
Any questions from anybody?
So the current practice is residents have their garbage cans. And right now they can bring out a couch, all types of,
Yep.
and just put it out on garbage day and it'll be picked up.
Yep.
So your suggestion would change that practice.
Correct.
And manage that in a different way, that people will pay for those larger items or get like a certain quota, a sticker for.
Because again, most of the residents within the city are compliant and do what I will call a normal amount of MSWs generated, or a normal amount of recyclables. But there are ones that drive our costs that people are taking advantage of the system where they're putting out huge amounts of material, or what I believe is material is generated outside of the city of Schenectady and then brought into the city of Schenectady for disposal.
Mr. Williams?
So I just wanted to thank the team for putting this collective data for us, or collective information. I think it'd be important for me to just reference, I had the opportunity a few weeks ago to shadow one of our waste collection fees, and I just want at this point just thank Sammy and Jerome, who I imagine Mr. LaFawn knows. They were an excellent tandem and truly gave me a first-person overview of what trash collection is like in our city. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that my body was aching a few days, probably 2 weeks afterwards, and it is an experience I look forward to only doing once. But to your point, Mr. Mayor, that education is absolutely an understatement of the issue we have to address. Growing up in the city, it was always understood in my household, if you just get it to the curb, it will not be there when you get back home. And very much it is a resource that is taken advantage of. To your point, Mr. Mancini, truly, I think we picked up maybe half a dozen couches, chairs, and as long as it fits within the truck, when it's full, you go back out and you continue your route. And the caveat I wanted to add on to us identifying a better means to kind of feed and then better manage this. Also, there is a component that we need to look at is improving the work-life conditions for our workers. Truly, that is a strenuous job, and it is not the easiest one to staff. And I very much think that this department is taking advantage of, not just from our own expectations as residents, but also as individuals who are meant to keep the streets cleaned when they're set up to fail. There were plenty of times where trash was just dumped in bins or loose bags, and if that bag breaks, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. LaFont, if they make the mess, they have to clean it. And that takes time. And there were often times where my expectation was there would be fuller teams. That is not often the case. And truly the expectation is for 2 individuals, 1 driver and 1 packer, excuse me if I'm wrong with the definitions, to take on whole streets. So when they're addressing these jackpots, the residents are then frustrated when the truck is stuck in traffic for so long, and then if they make a mess. So truly they are set up to fail, and I think it is important for us to get this right. But my only fear is I want to caution against this making this too complicated, just from the standpoint of with every additional layer we add in is then an additional layer of education. We have to make sure everyone is properly informed, because I also know that our Schenectadians are very opinionated, and God forbid we add in more fees without properly rolling it out to the community. But definitely look forward to taking a deeper dive into this and then getting it right for not only the residents, but also for the employees of that department.
Mr. Farley?
So yeah, I'd like to echo some of what Mr. Williams has stated. Not only with added layer is the added layer of like kind of educational piece, which to your point, Mr. Mayor, I think is probably the most important piece. I think most people, when they know better, they do better. They'll be in compliance with what were our expectations. I guess there's also something that we have to consider, and I'm sure that the committee took this into consideration, is that if we're increasing, enforcement in something like stickers, or there's a cost that comes with that as well, right? So I was just thinking about, and I think that really that'd be something I think that, I really would defer to Mr. LaFawn around, because I guess the solution should be proportionate to the problem. So I don't know, because, I see it, the jackpots here and there, and it's like, well, and I think they kind of stick out in my mind because there's so much. So I guess I'm wondering, I don't want to end up overcorrecting, if you will, like putting something in place that can end up being a cost to the city. So it's just trying to find that balance, and I think that there's a lot of deference that needs to be given to Mr. LaFawn as far as guiding that part of the conversation. So I just welcome if you have any thoughts around that. Yeah, Mr. LaFawn, Mr. Mayor, yeah, either way, just
With regards to the cost of enforcement?
Yeah.
Well,
So, Mr. LaFawn, if you're, because we want to be able to see you.
So if we print stickers or bags or whatever, there's a cost to that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, how does that?
And again, part of that is this discussion to put out, and we'll all get calls tomorrow saying, no, we don't want to do that. So we know that's off the table, but maybe they would like stickers.
Right.
well, since it's in the discussion phase, yes, the stickers would be a cost to the city. But to recoup that cost, we would add that to the price of the stickers as part of the cost of, doing away with the trash or disposing of the trash. So that all has to be built into it. If you go into some rural areas where they use transfer stations, they do a sticker system. Sometimes it's $3 for a bag of garbage. You buy them at local stores, town halls, the same thing. But all that cost is all factored in. And then again, if people aren't compliant, there is the enforcement factor, and we have to break that in small. That's, there's going to be a transition where we're not there to just write a fine. Maybe there's a reminder note, but again, when we do a violation, there's a cost for that. Right now, I think certified mail is $7 an envelope. Violations, whether it's the administrative fee of $50, right off the top, $7 is going to the mail. And you've got the nuisance officers that's taking his time to write it, the paper, everything else to go to that. So the other thing we have to look at is whether or not, our administrative fees are covering the cost of the work we're actually doing in-house. And then factor in anything for the printing of the stickers. So all those costs are going to be factored in. And then they come up, like the mayor said, with a scale that is appropriate to what's being left on the curb. And it's more of a pay-as-you-go system. Like the mayor said, the bulk of our homeowners here are compliant. They're not going to see any changes. Maybe once in a while, if the stickers go out as a courtesy, somebody go out at the when the tax bills go out, they have that one couch a year. It's not everybody gets rid of their couch every year. They'll have a couple stickers to put on there. It'll go away. It's really repeat offenders that we're seeing all the time. Landlords that are emptying whole housefuls of everything there. Rather than hiring a dumpster and paying the cost of the dumpster, the disposal. Well, if we put it on the curb, the city comes and takes it for free.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to do? They're going to put it on the curb and we're going to take it for free. So all those costs have to be factored in to the sticker price. And when we do a violation, if it comes to that, what is the cost of the administrative fee for the violation? Is $50 going to cover it, or should it be $70? It's all stuff we're going to have to look into.
I would also imagine that when you look at that's a good example of landlords or whoever was emptying out an entire apartment. Maybe the dumpster is a couple $100 to get the dumpster. Well, then the fee has to be relatively, it has to incentivize them doing the right thing.
And a small 15-yard dumpster is probably costing somebody a couple $100 at least to get rid of that. Yeah. Where we're not charging right now. It's free.
Yeah.
If you got 7 couches from a 7-unit there, right now, the way the code is written, we're gonna take all 7, there's no charge. If we have to send 3 trucks back and forth, it's not gonna change anything. So, yeah. And the true costs have to be looked at with regards to, like we talked about the e-waste. We may break even in the sense that it's not costing us nothing to get rid of it, but there is a cost there because that truck that's getting about 4 miles to the gallon is on the road. The gentleman who's running, on that truck, we're paying his benefits, his salary. And when it comes back, the pallets, the shrink wrap we have to buy to Rappo, the time it takes for us to put that together. So there is a true cost even to get rid of something that we think, we're not paying a lot, but if you look at it, there's a cost.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so when we started this,
I'm sorry.
did you have, I didn't see your hand, I'm sorry.
I just put it up.
Oh, you just put it up.
Well, not just now, but seconds ago. So, Mayor, can you explain why we're kind of revisiting this whole trash financial situation? Or
Our current structure does not cover the full cost of waste collection. So my thought process last year in the budget, and as we're going forward, is waste collection should pretty much pay for itself, that it shouldn't be subsidized by other revenue. There's a mechanism where we can account for what our actual costs are and let people know that. And in this whole thing, again, in terms of sustainability, you want people to recycle, you want people to be more cognizant of what they're doing with waste, garbage, yard clippings. And so if there's a fee structure, so if they can save money, if we build some incentives in this also so that they're thinking a little bit different in terms of how they're going to dispose of items, I think everybody benefits from that. And so the goal is to have it more revenue neutral, but to cover the expenses. We gave pay raises to the 1037 crews. It was just a reality in the market, CDL drivers and other things, to be able to get them here in the market. And I think that's appropriate, but at the same time, it drives up our costs, and how do we now cover that through revenue that's directly related to waste collection?
So what I was going to say is that when we started this discussion during budget season, we talked about our goal was like to look at the jackpots. Well, I don't know if that's, anyway, that's the name they've been given. So I think we should definitely do that. And there was some saying that we couldn't focus on focus on certain people. But if there are people who are putting out tremendous amounts of garbage, I don't see why we cannot specifically say, this is the amount of garbage that it's just way too much, and especially on a regular basis. So our nuisance officers would definitely come in there, and I understand they're out already. I've been receiving phone calls and emails that they've been out to, people have been putting things from their commercial to their home. They've been putting out their garbage too early, all of that. Those things already exist in the code. Well, they already exist in the code. So if you put out your garbage before 2 o'clock the day before trash day, then you can be fined for that. We weren't enforcing that, and a large part of this is going to be enforcement, but now that's happening. So that has started. As we look at this, Mr. O'Brien has provided for us the amendments, and then I asked Ms. Maiku to print out the code as it stands. So we want to take a look at what we have versus what's being proposed before us. And it's kind of been said here, but I think one of the other things we need is a cost-benefit analysis to actually look at what it's costing us and what we're getting from that. So I think that's really, really important. And also to pay attention to the fact that we're talking about, are we suggesting cans versus bags, cans and bags? I don't know if we really nailed down on that particular.
Nothing's been decided, but the reality is it'll probably be cans and bags.
So,
some standard.
Right, we had a lot of discussion about bags, the size of bags, cans, the size of cans. There's a lot of discussion about that. And also the sticker system, which has been mentioned here. And so anything that we do, or as we're doing this and moving forward, just I want the council to keep in mind that this is going to take a public hearing, because we're going to be making, the suggestion is that we make changes to the code. And then also, that's also been discussed, there needs to be a transition period where we're telling people, this is what's going to happen, this is what we're considering. And this is not carved in stone from the Waste Committee, but the suggestions that have come forward based on weeks of conversation. The other thing I wanted to add, because people have been paying attention to that we're paying attention to this, is there's communities that are asking for trash cans. Like there are some communities that already have them, like the North Side did theirs, Hamilton Hill did theirs, and then one other community actually had public trash cans. We have them downtown. So that's another thing we may want to consider, because people are saying we would like some public trash cans within our city, but then we would have to figure out how we cover the cost of that. So, and the other part of this, I just want to bring forward for discussion. A lot of this is going to be we have a lot of renters in the city, so this just won't be homeowners. So as we're thinking this through, we have to think about renters and behavior of renters versus homeowners, because sometimes it's not quite the same. And also, as we think about this, will any increase that we do in costs to property owners, I don't mean just people that are living in their homes that own properties, because we have people that own multiple properties throughout the city, how that cost, if any, will be passed on to renters. So those are other costs and things that we would want to be able to take into consideration as we're continuing to discuss this. Mr. Farley?
Yeah, I was just saying, what I think is really important is that if we look at it in the way of like kind of the jackpots, or I think that's a really good model to have, because what that's saying is that if I'm the person who's putting out so much trash, then my neighbor doesn't end up bearing the cost for what I'm doing. So it's like, I could see that might, I imagine that could complicate things a little bit, but I think based on what Mr. LaFawn was saying, that makes sense to make that extra investment in the way, so we're not spreading that across the community. Because I know that was kind of like some of the discussions that we were having during our budget process. So I think that this is kind of a really healthy medium, if you will, that addresses the issue specifically with any resident that's struggling with this, and then it doesn't become a larger cost for those who are in compliance.
So I'm not really sure how we get there, but we want to bring it to the council. There's for more discussion, so we can come up with something. And we do see a lot of couches, unquestionably, and mattresses. I think those are the two favorite things that people get rid of on a regular basis. So to charge additionally for that. And let me just also add, we looked at municipalities. There was information brought from other municipalities in terms of what they do. And even very local, where they actually charge if you put out a couch, or you put out a refrigerator, or anything above and beyond what's considered normal trash. So this isn't outside the realm of possibility. It's just a matter of getting people accustomed to it, and again, making sure that, because any money that we receive from waste only goes into the waste department to cover those fees. It doesn't go to the general fund. So we have to look at all of those things. So is there any further input that we need to bring back to the Waste Committee?
Do we have a timeline? Do we have a timeline for when we'll have the larger discussion and do the public hearing? I mean, just so we don't
actually, Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, Madam President, I would just would suggest that let the council members digest what they've been given here tonight, and then send emails to the city clerk, and then the city clerk can give it to the waste collection task force, and then start incorporating those comments in. And then as we get further along, then we're going to have to amend the ordinance, and then prior to that have that public hearing, but then the ordinance will be in draft form, ready to put before you and have the public hearing. So maybe just at this point, everybody go through what they've got, any experiences they have, and then send emails to the city clerk, and then the city clerk can then distribute it to point person for the task force.
So to answer your question, there is no timeline at this point. It is one thing that I asked for. And so we will now, the next time we have a waste meeting, I will bring that up, that we do, want to put this on a timeline so we kind of know where we're going to go with this and how we'll, if we implement in stages, or because I don't personally think that based on everything that we want to change, we're going to be able to do this all at once. It's definitely going to take some transition, and it's going to be challenging for people to figure out all the changes that we made. So we will probably, in a way that makes sense, transition it in. And again, when it comes to the fees and stuff, those things we're going to have to have a public hearing to any part of that changing the code. It's going to require that. So, as Mr. O'Brien said, you can submit all of any comments, any suggestions, etc., to Ms. Michaels, and she will then will forward them on to the Waste Committee.
Just following up on your comments, Madam President, maybe if the council members can say how they would like to have it phased in. What aspects that they want phased in first. Okay, let's the out-of-town drop-offs one, the other, whatever. Prioritize what they would like to see phased in first, second, and third as we do this.
And we haven't done this, but we could, I'm not sure when we get to the point of at one time the mayor said that we would have different communities, like neighborhood associations, kind of give input. And that has not happened yet. And because right now it's just the people on the Waste Committee. So I do think we need more eyes and more voices around this, because it's a major change within the city. So that hasn't happened yet. But in terms of getting the information out there and having more PSA, that's something maybe we could do around that too, so we can bring that back to the committee, is how do we start having these discussions within neighborhoods. Yes, Ms. Patrick.
Because I think, and thank you, I want to thank everybody as well that has been doing this work on the Waste Committee and all. But I do think as part of the educational aspect, it would be good to, for example, see if we can partner with the Gazette, see if there's any businesses that want to partner with us, the neighborhood associations in the school district, but in terms of, even having like little competitions among the neighborhood associations or something, like have something where, the whole goal is beautifying Schenectady.
Right.
And make it, try to build some positive energy and some fun around some of this.
And speaking of which, we should have a slogan. I know we have it, it starts with me. That may work, but maybe there's something that other people would, or maybe we could have a slogan contest. How there's that. And then you have to pay a fee to be in it. That was a joke. That was a joke. All right, so Mayor, did you have more on that? Anything further? All right, as you said, if you could send everything back, we'll just bring it back to the next Waste Committee meeting and have more discussion about that. Thank you, Mayor, for that. Okay, I'll turn it over to Mr. Williams.
So I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. We have two items on the agenda tonight, both of which we've spoken to. First of which is the grant award, Community Trust Building conversation, and that will be presented by Lieutenant Colonel.
Hi, good evening. Here, representative of the police department, and we are asking the council to accept. The first is a grant award in the amount of $13,588. It was for the Community Trust Building conversation. Ultimately, this is reimbursement to the city as the funds have been spent already.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Ms. Worker?
So I know that this is already taking place. Do you know at what point in time we would hear a report about how it went?
Yep, there is, the report has been completed, I understand, but I've not had a chance to look at it yet.
Okay, but the council would be able to hear about that?
Definitely.
Okay, all right, that's my only question, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a motion.
So,
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the speed sign purchase. Lieutenant Mickey.
Thank you. The police department is looking to enter into an agreement with Traffic Systems Incorporated. We have capital funds available of the amount of $113,000. We would like to purchase 25 of these signs for a total of $78,250. If we have funds left over, depending on how much it's going to cost to install them, we would like to purchase more until the funds are depleted at a cost of $3,130 per unit.
Any questions or comments, Ms. Patrick?
So can you just tell us a little bit about, the placement of these and making the determination of where the 25 will go?
Sure, it's going to be predominantly school zones, and some of the features that these signs have built into them are, of course, getting the driver's attention. We also have what we can call stealth mode, where it appears that they're not working, but what they're actually doing is they're collecting data. And that's important because we want real numbers. We don't want to artificially impact how drivers would normally drive, especially if we're looking at some of these zones, school zones again, predominantly.
Ms. Patrick? Or Ms. Nicole, sorry.
Thank you. Do we have any currently this type in the city?
Yes, we have been demoing one for probably 6 months, maybe more, and it's on Erie Boulevard, right near Alltown Fresh.
Okay. All right.
Ms. Worker?
So, right now, we're going to 25, so do we know what the maximum, or does it depend on the cost, what number we'll get up to?
That's right. Depending on what the installation costs are, I have a rough estimate. We look at around $350 per sign, but we won't know until we get a little further into it.
And how soon would we be talking about having the signs actually coming to be installed?
Well, as soon as we place the order and as soon as we have them in our possession, we can install them.
So do we have a time? I know sometimes when we buy police cars, it's not like there's an extended period because of all of that. And how about with the signs? Is this a shorter time frame?
Yeah, I'm confident it is. I don't know the answer to that specifically, but I'm confident that it is.
Yeah, I thought it was like 60 days.
60 days.
We'll place the order and we'll get them.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other items that will fall public safety, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. So I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. We have 5 items on the agenda tonight. The first of which is the Young Parents United CDBG allocation request, which will be presented by Ms. Farber.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. The Department of Development received a request from Young Parents United asking for emergency funding to fill in the gap. They lost a major funder this year, leaving them with a $98,000 gap to continue their program. The funding will assist them in taking care of salaries and the basic needs for the young teenagers and the children that are benefited from the program. I have invited the Executive Director, Ms. Jenny Egan, here to answer any additional questions in regards to the overview that was already provided to you on the services offered for Young United parents. My ask of you today is to allow the City of Schenectady to go into contract with Young United parents for the $98,000 using CDBG funds that we have from 2018 that need to be expended immediately. This is a one-time ask. The organization have already begun to take measures with improving their fiscal health. They've recently moved to another location with lower rent payments in order to help adjust their financial situation right now. They are also working to identify additional funding sources for sustainability moving forward. So the expectation is not to come again for this fund. It is a one-time contract. They're currently already contracted with us through the Youth Coalition, so the organization has been in good standing, good reporting already. So my ask is for you to support that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
No, so I think you answered it. So they're looking for future funding. That was one of my questions. So they're looking to make sure in the future this that they would be in place. So this would not be an ask from the city.
Correct.
Going forward.
Correct. They will continue to be funded through the Youth Coalition.
Okay, but the additional is
No.
not expectation. So, but if I could just ask about the CDBG funds from 2018 and how we ended up. it's obviously isn't enough for what's being asked, but how we kind of ended up there.
So HUD, the federal government gives you 5 years to spend our money. We've had money allocated in other areas internally that haven't been able to use the funding. So in an effort to stay in compliance with the federal government, we went through and was able to find areas that we could reallocate the money for immediate use. And in the process of doing that, we received a request from United Parents, Young United Parents, and I did go to the mayor and ask if it was something that we could do and change kind of the trajectory on how we were going to use some of the funding.
Thank you. Any, Mr. Farley?
Just how much funding out of this 2018 money is available right now?
There is none after this.
After this, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Patrick?
Just wondering what your total budget is?
Well, it's
And
changed.
if you have to, if you're gonna come over, if you're gonna.
Excuse me for one thing, I enjoyed my knee moving.
Oh, no.
I see it all, it's, you know, last year, we were operating $500,000. This year, you know, with this funding, you know, we had one major funder. So we do have other sources, which includes the CDBG funding, private foundations, community, you know, other foundations in the community. This year, what we're going to do to cover this gap, there's a large federal grant that's available for several of them that apply very specifically to our population. We had intended previously to, you know, make that transition, only now it's just requiring us to do it very quickly. But it's, you know, it's a good amount of money that would literally cover that issue. But the RFP doesn't come out till May, and the awards wouldn't take place until like the end of September. So we needed, you know, we really do, trust me, provide a lot of services and support to the young parents in this community. They depend on us, as a lot of the agencies do also. We're just looking forward to staying here and sustaining the organization. So your support would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question. What was the reasoning behind the primary funder pulling out? I mean, what was their, I mean, did they just lack funding themselves?
They supported us tremendously from the very beginning, and I'm very grateful because they built the organization up to a point where we could really have a huge impact. It was a decision to do something different. There's nothing negative to say.
Okay.
We're very grateful. And, you know, we're grateful that we were able to get to the point where we were with that particular funder. And it's just now the transition to move on. We really need the support to sustain.
Mr. Farley?
Yeah, well, first I want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing, the very, very important work that you're doing. You know, it's not lost on any of us in the council. At least I think I can speak for the council to say that this is a very high priority of ours as well. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really in the mud with these kids, so.
Yeah, it's not gonna be, right.
And we want to continue to be. We care a lot. So.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you so much.
Moving to the next item, the 2024 budget reallocation pursuant to the agreement between the City of Schenectady and National Carpenters Local 51 of 2024, which will be discussed by Mayor.
Thank you. Items 2, 3, and 4 are budget amendments to conform with contracts that we've entered into, collective bargaining agreements with the carpenters, the electricians, and the painters union. So if anybody has any specific questions on that, but these are contracts already been approved by the council, done by the unions, and now it's just to bring the budget into agreement with that so we can continue to pay.
Did we need to go through these line by line?
Yes.
Okay.
You probably do have to vote on it, but the message is the same for all of them. Apologize, Mr. Chairman, get the head of it.
No worries. Returning to Ms. Porterfield?
Yes. So, well, actually, it's not a question. I just want to point out that Mr. Bukamak, who couldn't be here tonight, did provide the backup information about how much it's going
The
to
budget
cost.
scenarios, if anybody has any questions on it,
And although it's
probably
money,
answer it, or we can get additional information if you have.
it's, you'll notice that they're not significant increases.
Right.
In each year, but clearly things that if we made those changes, we have to amend the budget to cover that.
We have small numbers of members within these unions that are city employees.
Any questions or comments regarding the Carpenter Local 51? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving to item number 3 is the 2024 budget reallocation for the IBEW Local 2020, or 236. Any questions or comments?
I'll move it.
I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 4 is the 2024 budget reallocation for the trades union DC9 painters, bricklayers LU2, and plumber LU7 for 2024. Any questions or comments? Hearing none.
So I'll move it.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the 5th and final item is a reminder of a public hearing for the Restore New York Round 8 grant application. The public hearing will be held on April 22nd. Any other questions or comments following the finance meeting? Hearing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
So, I wanted to move this so we can let Mr. Gillen go.
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to call to order City Development and Planning. We have 7 items on the agenda. Is Mr. Wallen coming downstairs, or he usually goes based on, is he coming? You see him?
I don't see him.
He usually sits upstairs and watches. So taking it out of order might throw him off. So, could you see if Mr. Wallen texted me? So, and while we're waiting for him, I am going to jump to item number 3. So, of City Development and Planning, it's a ceremonial resolution for Arbor Day. We've done it years in the past, but I want to first of all thank Ms. Carver for bringing it to our attention this year, because part of having the what the benefit of having these resolutions is just not to do it, but it's also when there's funding opportunities, having a resolution that proclaiming Arbor Day in the city is part of what the application is asking for. So again, I want to thank Ms. Carver for bringing this to our attention to make sure that we do it. It is under my name, however, it's just there as a placeholder, so if there's a council member who has a burning desire or loves trees and grass, as Ms. Carver said, and wants to present the resolution, anybody wants to volunteer to do that. Mr. Turturro?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there we are. So we will invite people to come to do that. That part we'll take care of. Actually, I spoke to people over the weekend, so we'll have them through here receiving. Okay?
I work with Mr. Turan as well.
Do you want to co-present it?
I said, yeah, I work with Mr. Turan as well. I think we all love trees. And so if you don't have any, then everybody really be loving them then. So we got to definitely.
And
Yes.
Okay, so, all right. Okay. Mr. Wallen, thank you. I know I jumped ahead and threw you off your system. So,
Can I just say about the Arbor Day?
Yes,
That it
sure.
would be nice to have something where, we could always, because we did this before when I was working where you could ceremoniously, plant a tree, actually to celebrate. I don't know if maybe you were already thinking about doing something like that, but have some, kind of, it's not a ribbon cutting, it's a groundbreaking.
This year, we're partnering with Retreat in
Oh,
Stockholm, so there's going to be an event, and I will pass it around to the clerk to distribute. But on Friday, the 26th, will be an activity that we partner with some community organizations.
Great.
and thank you again for that.
Thank
So
you.
we need a motion, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So moved.
I'll second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. So the first item, we're going back to the first item, the award the bidding contract for the Gulf Road Water main replacement.
So this is a new water line between the existing fire training facility on Gulf and Oregon Avenue to our golf course maintenance facility down the dead end of Gulf Road. As you know, we are installing very soon a brand new golf course irrigation system. The irrigation system is going to be more centrally located than the existing one. The existing one is located in a rather odd easement behind a home off of Consall Road. It makes it difficult to get to and a little cumbersome for all of us, so we're going to be moving it to a new location that is a little bit easier to access all the way around and more central with the course. So this is an 8-inch water main to go. We've got several bids. The low being Newcastle, who we have worked with numerous times in the past, and it is within budget.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, item number 2, change order approval to O'Connell Electric contract for the Central Park Pool. Mr. Wallen.
O'Connell Electric is, just a bit back up, the Central Park Pool was awarded under Wick's Law, which is 4 contracts, a general, plumbing, an electrical, and a mechanical. The electrical contract that we have in front of you, we would like to do a change order for them to install additional lighting in the park for site paths and lighting between the pool facility, the A Diamond, and Music Haven. The value of their contract was such that by approving this, as you see, it would raise the value over 25%, and over 25% requires council approval. The funding for this project would be paid for the outside the fence money that we call it, the ARPA General Fund Improvement money. We thought that this was an efficient way to get the goals of the project accomplished, since we had a contractor on site and the lights that we wanted in the schedule. So they are ordering the lights upon approval of this. They're ready to go. Contractor's great. The new lights that we have, they said they've been working. They are smart node capable, and so I would recommend that we improve this so that we can. Right now, just if you're aware, I know Paul's not here, but on every Music Haven event, we actually have to rent light towers and bring them in, and it is an issue between people from Fair Avenue, which is where the majority park, and the rest of that, and so this is a step to try to improve that.
Any questions, comments?
Well, I'll just say that, having experienced the Music Haven piece of this in particular, it's just so needed, so I'm thrilled that we're going to move forward with this. It's really an important safety feature in the park for all the people that come in and enjoy those festivities all summer long, so I appreciate it.
And while this is the lighting component, this is also designed work for, it's really the walkway going between Music Haven, A Diamond, where the swimming pool is, and so it'll dramatically improve walkability and the visual attractiveness of that whole area of the park.
Mr. Toro.
Thank you. So having been there yesterday in the pavilion for a baby shower, and it was wonderful, but so that they were working on the pool nonstop. They had work going on over there, but they had a big round roller that they were packing down all the gravel in the walkway we're talking about now, and the restrooms are there. So again, it was a dreary day and it was dark, and with those lights on, it'll just be very nice, the walkway and the pathway. Thank you, Chris.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll move it.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry
Wallen.
to be late.
No, we just 3 walked again. So the next item is we did Arbor Days recognizing John Fluccio for his years of service. For those that don't know, he will be retiring at the end of this month after 35 years of service to the city. And so, as we have in the recent past, acknowledged people who were retiring from the city, like to provide a resolution. Hopefully, he's actually, I think, on vacation right now, can come and receive it. But even if he can't, I think it's a good thing after that many years of service to at least be able to acknowledge the service to the city. So, with that,
I will move that one with pleasure.
All right, I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the reminder of the public hearing for adding the addition to section 26 264-113 of the City Code regarding the regulation and location of smoke shops, vape shops, hookah lounges, and vape consumption businesses, and that public hearing will be held on the 22nd of April. It's just a reminder. The next item is item number 6 is 902 McClellan Street vacant lot. Mayor, is this something that we need to do in executive session, or can we do this in public session?
It's the council's decision. I call at this point fairly straightforward. Wouldn't need executive session if you want. If there's some specific question on negotiations.
Not in terms of negotiations. I do have some questions, but they're not in terms of negotiations, so.
Yeah, I think we should do it in executive session. Section 105, proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of property.
I beg your pardon?
It's proposed acquisition or release or sale of property, and also if there's going to be any, looking at any sort of litigation in this matter. Is that, are we looking at litigation in this matter, or are we just looking to transfer the property as is, subject to the conditions that are,
Litigation?
I don't know, I'm just
I'm
saying.
not looking for any litigation.
Okay, so just discounting that basis for, there's a number of different reasons for executive sessions, and I just want to make sure that's not one of them, but we're looking at the acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. The council's previously approved this sale.
Yes, we did.
Back, so there seems to be an issue post, the transaction has not closed, so I would still say it's a pending sale. So it has, even though the resolution's passed, it has not closed.
I see. Okay, well, I was trying to get you out of here, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. So we're going to have to do that in executive session, what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
And an amendment to the land bank cooperative agreement, same thing. Mr.
I don't know all the terms of that one. If we're just looking to add properties to that.
Correct.
Yes.
But not for sales, we're just adding, there's not any transactions with that, right? It's just adding properties from the inventory over to that. Okay, that doesn't need to be.
What I'm saying is, we're simply adding. No, we're simply adding properties to the existing access agreement, allowing them to look through those sites and also identify different projects and things that we may need in the future.
Okay.
I think I would like to hear that in executive session. I have some questions.
Regarding the value of those
Yes.
properties? Okay.
Yes.
Regarding the values of those properties?
Yes. Okay. So in this case, I'll ask for a recess.
Okay, motion to recess.
I'll second. Then you call the committee order, and then we'll go into executive session right after your discussion.
Okay, all right. So do we have to vote on that?
We're recessed.
Should we just, we don't have to vote on it?
No, we're not going to discuss it when doing the executive session.
Okay, so I'd like to open health and recreation. We have one item on the agenda, and that is a ceremonial resolution regarding the contract between St. Peter's Health Partners, Ellis Medicine, and New York State Nurses Association. So I'd like to open that up, see if there's any discussion. I have some questions. Mr. Farley?
Certainly. So right now, Ellis Medicine and St. Peter's are in negotiations with New York State Association of Nurses, and I think that it's important that this is a very consequential negotiation or process that's happening, and I just want to encourage all our community partners to settle a fair contract with the Nurses Association, so it doesn't impact if it does impact, it impacts to the benefit of the people that live in the city of Schenectady. With our limited medical resources that we have, I think that's really an important issue to weigh in on.
It's your committee.
Ms. DeToro?
Thank you. So I fully acknowledge the essential role of nurses in our community and wherever. However, I think this negotiation is between a private entity and their employees and should be negotiated as such. And I really don't feel it's a stance that, I feel that the city council should take not take a stance in helping out or resolving negotiations between that fall within kind of like the domain of private entities. So I just don't think it's, again, as much as I fully acknowledge and endorse the role of nurses, I just don't think it's something that we should enter into.
Mr. Williams?
Just as a point of clarification, which entity are you referring to that's private?
The hospital.
But it's a merger, so which one? Because to my awareness, both are non-for-profits.
Pardon me?
They're both non-for-profits.
St. Peter's and Dallas?
Yes.
So,
By law, every hospital in New York State has to be not-for-profit.
So they're not private, is what he's saying.
It's not private. So I would say they're public good. That would make it very much a public conversation, but I'll wait till
Do you have other comments, or Mr. Crowley? I have some comments, so.
Sure. Well, I'll hear you out first.
Well, I do want to comment on that particular question, actually, because in fact, I'm not really sure, and I don't know if anyone around this table knows, which gets to my larger issue of I really don't think we should be getting involved with contract negotiations between the hospital and its staff, or anybody. I mean, I would say the same thing in terms of getting involved in the school, the school district when the superintendent is negotiating with NICET. I wouldn't think that we would want to get involved with that or any contract negotiation that isn't ours. But I do want to say that I'm not really sure that the nurses are needing to negotiate with St. Peter's. I don't think that's part of it. I think, I don't think St. Peter's is involved in it. If anyone else knows differently, they could tell me that. So that's one of my questions. I'd like to know where the 93%, the idea that Ellis is understaffing its hospital units up to 93%. I'd like to know where that came from and whether anyone sitting at the table can verify that number, because I'm not really sure that that's, it seems like a very unusual number to me. So again, I don't really feel that we probably fully understand the parameters of the contract negotiation. It's my understanding that they do this every 3 years. It's kind of a standard negotiation that the hospital undertakes every 3 years with the nurses. But I also want to say, as you all are saying, that I certainly support all of our healthcare workers, and I value the fact that we have the hospital here. I think we need to do everything we can to support keeping the hospital here and making sure that our healthcare stays fine. But again, I really would have to say that I just don't think it's appropriate for City Council to be getting involved in the contract negotiations of another organization. Ms. Porterfield?
So I just want to point out the fact that several years ago, when there was where we were supporting in terms of safe staffing, and this council did pass a resolution when the NISNA came to us regarding safe staffing, because they were stating that, there was a Safe Staffing Act, and because the staffing was not equal to the number of patients, so essentially nurses were then being overburdened in terms of how many patients per nurse. So the NISA did come to us, and we did pass a resolution to support that Safe Staffing Act. So I just want to make folks be aware that that did happen. Additionally, it's my understanding that St. Peter's isn't very much involved in this, and we can just confirm that for you if that's a question for you. But the information, as I understand it, came from NISNA, so that's, I know the Trinity is also involved in it, but that St. Peter's is a part of this. And I know that it was stated that they do this every year, but this is a little bit different because this is a merger. They don't do that every 3 years. This is a merger of facilities, and it's going to change some things. So it's not just a standard contract. This is about a merger. So I just wanted to make that clear. And also, I want to ask you about. So, are you saying that if the information is confirmed in terms of the, what they're saying? Is that where your concern is?
No, I was just
Okay.
raising those questions. No, I absolutely, my major concern is city council getting involved with something that I don't feel is appropriate, and it's outside the purview of city council to be passing this resolution. So that's my fundamental belief.
Okay.
The others were just questions that I was raising. I guess I was raising those questions to say that, to me, that adds to the fact that I think it's a situation that we are not the best experts, in terms of the understanding of what's happening in that labor negotiation to make a stand on that. No, Mr. Farley.
Yes,
That was me.
So, first of all, I want to say I genuinely appreciate the concerns that are being raised here. I think that there is definitely merit in the concerns around, like, what is the role of city council, and I think point where we differ is like the examples around like the school district. I think that what we're talking about this issue is literally and probably the most explicit form of something that consequences can be life or death for the people that live in our city. So I think that you don't need to be a medical professional per se, or someone who knows the ins and outs of what's being negotiated in order to call for a fair negotiation to be reached, because that impacts the material conditions of the people that live in our city, and probably one of the most significant ways of any other institution that's existing. So I think that those are the compelling reasons why we need to get involved. I would go to a point where I feel obligated to be involved, and even thank you, Madam President, for acknowledging that precedent that I didn't even know existed prior to this. So I do appreciate that, acknowledging that this is something that is an area that City Council has taken action in before. I would say even if that wasn't the case, this is a situation where this impacts the livelihood of the people that live in the city in a very serious way. And I think that any issue that rises to that level of quality of life implications, we are obligated, I feel a strong obligation to weigh in to do what's best for the people that live here, especially when it's also something as important as access to healthcare for that matter. Oh, and also one more thing. In the study, a study was done in 2023. This is where the information is coming by the New York State Association of Nurses from February to November 23, where they did a study against 6 units. And that's where that data comes from, and you can find that information on their website. And there's also, this is all public information as well, so you can find that on their website.
Before I go to Mr. Williams, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate what you're saying. I guess I will bring back that, again, to me, the same in terms of the contract negotiations that the mayor and our commissioner of finance, undergoes with our police department and our fire department, which are also two very essential services in life or death situations for the residents. Again, I would say I wouldn't want to see, someone from a different governing body trying to get involved in those contract negotiations from outside the city as well. I just feel like it's so that's my similar point. Mr. Williams?
So I'd say in my response, I would say I don't see the parallels, because my argument was going to start with since both hospital systems are non-for-profits, I would categorize them as public goods, and I would say as city servants within the city of Schenectady, I think advocating on the functionality of any form that exists within this municipality is well within our purview. With respect to Ms. Porterfield, referencing that the council has already made a determination on safe staffing, I think it's to Mr. Farley's point, this is a different situation where we're dealing with a merger between between St. Peter's Health Partners and Ellis, and they function within the umbrella of Trinity Health System. But sincerely, this is a unique circumstance in that these conversations have been in a stalled or stagnant state for a long number of months. So I think in understanding the context that these conversations have not continued, I think it is incumbent upon us to recognize that these nurses, who truly are the cornerstone of any healthcare system, are asking for our assistance. And I think in the manner of which they're requesting it, it is truly us highlighting the importance of getting this right. And with this being the singular hospital system within our city, and with wait times being at what they are, I imagine I'm not the only one hearing of it. I've had relatives who sat in that waiting room, and truly, we've already identified once that staffing saves lives. The expectations that are placed on these individuals, when it is in excess, that has a implication. And again, I think it is just important for us to take a moment to recognize where we are at, how we got here. And I do think this is a decision that we are able to make. And then partially to the other aspect of it, I very much think if the school district was in a stagnant stance also. However, I'm more than confident that Superintendent Kodo, although very new, has well within his abilities to maintain that conversation well. I think that would also be a similar context that I think I would also be willing to make and apply the same reasoning to as well.
Mr. Crowley?
So I guess I would just add on the fact that I think that I appreciate when, council members expressing their, recognizing the importance and support of, our nurses and all medical care providers. I just think that we have an ability to demonstrate our support through action. And I think that that is really the measure upon which not only people will recognize, but the measure of what will impact, again, the material conditions of the people that live in the city. So I would just welcome the larger council to come into the conversation from that entry point, recognizing that this isn't something that where we have to just recognize and appreciate in more of a symbolic nature. Like, we do have literally, quite frankly, some skin in the game, and the people that live here in the city of Schenectady really have skin in the game here. And so I, with all due respect and genuinely appreciating that, I think it's important that we amplify that. With all due respect and really appreciating the different perspectives at the table. I just think that our position that we sit in compels us to take action.
So again, I'm just going to argue back on that again with respect.
Discuss back.
Discuss back. But I do think that we all support nurses. I think we all, care very much about all of our healthcare workers. I think we also support the hospital. I mean, I think it's really important that we have Ellis here and that we're able to maintain Ellis here and help them be stable in whatever ways they can be. They need that kind of stability. So. I think that, again, I just want to really say that not supporting this resolution doesn't mean that we're not, that I can just speak for myself, that I'm not supporting nurses. Of course, love nurses, need nurses. I think, we need to do whatever we can to assist anyone that's trying to, educate people to think about careers in any of the healthcare subsets, that's great, a great public message to be putting forth. But again, I really just feel like we're stepping outside of our lane if we get involved with contract negotiations at the hospital. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's about 3 years ago they were in a similar position where both sides, and I apologize, I'm not quite as familiar with the private sector negotiations as I am the public sector. They were in what I think was a cooling off period. And I had the opportunity to publicly urge both sides to take into consideration the other side's position and hopefully come to a resolution, which surprisingly they did. And it was with a little bit of sarcasm. They gave me credit for bringing them all together. And it was, so my public comments there, just asking them to come together, had tremendous effect. Hopefully the council will remember that when I put messages out to you and ask for help.
So, Mr. Farley?
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. And I think that it's important that we recognize that this is not a resolution against Ellis at all. In fact, it's a resolution in support of our community. And I think that that is the lens that I'm using as I'm looking through this information and knowing that these, quality of life and again, in-depth issues is really is prevalent. So it's not necessarily, I'm not saying something against Ellis as more as what I'm saying something that is for the community, that's for the material conditions of the people that live here, and access to quality health care is greatly impacted by their ability to come to a fair agreement. So that's why I just can, that's what I'm looking to urge them to do so.
Mr. Toro?
Thank you. I was wondering if any of the other council members would like to share your feelings on it.
Yeah, I just, this is, obviously support nursing. My two sister-in-laws that are nurses or were. And having been an administrator for a nonprofit during sensitive negotiations, I have a feeling that this, for the council, is an overreach into an area that we don't know the sensitive natures of the negotiations that are what's happening. I mean, coming from a place that I was working there where, we were constantly getting written up from the state on not having appropriate staffing levels for several different reasons, and we were working very hard to resolve those issues. And I'm concerned that this could kind of sway or have a bad effect. I don't know the intricacies of the challenges that they're facing in the staffing levels and what's generating that. And I don't know the natures of the negotiations and conditions that are creating a delay, which gives me pause to support such a resolution at this time. I'm not I don't know what else we could do to maybe encourage or get more information on what the holdup is. But I just don't feel I have enough information that we would interfere with another organization's labor negotiations.
Mr. Williams?
So if I can just plainly ask, based on your definition, which I appreciate, you would categorize the mayor's action as an overreach?
I believe he may have been invited to.
I had the opportunity to make public comments on the status of it. And listen, I appreciate the discussion and debate. We'd like peace and harmony in the community and all this. If the issue's on the 93%, I've also sat in a number of negotiations where sometimes the collective bargaining unit will advocate positions that might be somewhat distorted or a little bit amplified. And so that if the issue is the 93%, which seems high to me, the council could some generic wording to encourage both sides to consider the other side and to move toward a resolution that reflects the high quality of service that Ellis and its staff deliver to this community. I would hope you could all come together on that and move it forward. We're working with Ellis on a number of things. That the time today to transfer a patient, we're having trouble getting ambulances sometimes to take somebody from the scene to the emergency room. Ellis has been extremely cooperative in terms of looking at other ways of how to deliver that high quality care in the most appropriate manner. And sometimes taking people to the emergency room is not the optimal treatment. And the city of Schenectady is leading in that in terms of some of the things that we're doing with telemedicine, partnership with the delivery of emergency medical care, our Smart Cities program. And that's only happening because of the nurses. It's only happening because of the staff and management at Ellis. And so don't get in a quagmire here favoring management one too much,
Right.
nurses too much.
Right.
We'd like them to come to some agreement and again allow the high quality of healthcare to be delivered within this community.
Ms. Porter?
So I will, some of the things have already been stated, but sometimes when you go to the emergency room, there are 10-hour waits. And Mary, and you spoke about making sure that we have nurses. So I think in terms of this resolution, that is what the ask is, that to make sure that we have safe staffing and we have enough nurses and that they're not understaffed. And if it means that we need to verify those things, I'm of the opinion that people aren't, people do stretch it or, but I'm of the opinion that there's not going to be a major exaggeration of what's going on here. So I frankly, as I said, we've done the safe staffing before because we thought it was concerning. And I know that I'm looking around to see if anybody was here at the time. So I don't know if any council members are currently here, but the nurses came and said, hey, there's a safe staffing and would you support us in that? And we did, because we all recognize the importance of making sure, because healthcare is important for the entire community, and whether you or I get the same illness, we're still always at the mercy of the healthcare system that we have currently here. So I'm not opposed to asking for a fair, because this resolution says we're asking for it to settle a fair contract. It's not, in my opinion, the title is not accusatory, it's simply an ask. So I'm very much in support of that, and hospitals are required to have a safe staffing act, so safe staffing standards. So I support this, and without getting into the nitty-gritty of what their negotiations are, I'm certainly supportive of making sure that we have the adequate staffing so the patients are seen on a timely basis. And right now, that's really not happening, and I think that all of us have heard it from, or most of us have heard it from people who have visited the emergency room and actually left our facility to go to other facilities. I can remember 3 years back where somebody told me, and so it's only gotten worse, where they lived in Schenectady, came to a hospital here, but it was so long that they actually went to another hospital to receive care. So I'm not opposed to asking that the patient to staff ratio be something that be put in place. I'm not opposed to that at all.
Mr. Farley?
Yeah, I think we don't need to understand how all of the nuance in the negotiation process to take a position that aligns with the good of the larger community. I don't think that you need to understand that in order to take such a position. And I think, quite frankly, if I don't care who it is, if their interest is aligned with the good of accessing healthcare for our community, well, then that's who I will certainly choose a side with. I don't have any problem doing that, and I think that the way that we demonstrate what we value is through what we support. And I don't want to abdicate leadership roles right now because there might be some other calculations or other political implications around this, because this is people's lives. So I don't think that this resolution is calling for that, but I'm speaking for myself and say, if it was, I'm still going to support it, and Ellis and whoever else will understand or won't that I'm going to, align with what's going to be best for the health of the larger community. This isn't just about a negotiation, and this is about, again, life and death for people that live in the city of Schenectady. So I think that Ellis is doing wonderful things in certain places, and I think that there's places that that they could be doing better. So as I'll be the first one to sing the praises when things are happening well, I think that encouraging them to come to a fair agreement that impacts the livelihoods of the people that live here, you got to do it. I mean, you got to take a position. I think not taking a position is still taking a position, if we're going to be honest about it. So that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I guess I really will disagree with that. I'm glad that we're able to have these kinds of conversations, but I guess I do feel like, beyond the fact that I feel like this is not in our purview, I also feel like it is almost making an assumption that they aren't being fair with one another in their negotiations. So I don't want to go down that path either. I would certainly support a resolution by City Council supporting all the healthcare workers and thanking Ellis and all of its healthcare workers for the quality healthcare that they provide to all of our residents, and not, anything to do with the contract negotiation. So I certainly would support something like that. I also would support, having a presentation by Paul Milton coming in to answer some of the questions, but my bottom line is that, I won't be supporting this resolution, but, so let me try to, are there other comments or questions?
Yeah, I got one more comment.
Okay.
I just think, and I appreciate the fact that we can have these conversations, and I just think that, when we say as council members, sometimes we can understand that two things can be true, right? That you can support someone, something, and still have a different perspective on some. I think that is doable and understandable. But I think that when there's, to speak to like the general resolution of supporting all healthcare, that'd be great, because I think that if we look not too far back in our recent past, when COVID hit, and these people were literally the lifeline of the community, putting their lives on the line every single day. We would share things on social media and cheer up and clap for them in a way. But now it's time for us to take some action. I think that we need to do that, because if not, in my opinion, it becomes performative and really inadequate way of demonstrating that we support not just our healthcare workers, but again, the overall health of our larger community, because that's the implications of the conversations that are happening now.
So I guess we would need a motion in a second.
I'll move it.
Is there a second? Okay, so
What happens is if it fails a committee, the sponsor can get a co-sponsor to bring it onto the floor. Pursuant to the rules.
Thank you.
So what is my next?
At this point, the motion has failed.
Okay.
The sponsor can get a co-sponsor and go on to the agenda.
Okay. So I would like a motion to adjourn Health and Recreation.
So,
And a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
So I'd like to call the Claims Committee to order. We have two items on the agenda tonight, both of which will require executive session. So may I have a motion to enter executive session?
Please.
Money and Joe.
Bonnie and Joe.
May I have a second?
Second.
All's in favor? Aye. You're in executive session.
Yeah, so members of the public will have to leave, and then when we, just for the council, what I'm going to do is reconvene city development planning, so we can, we're going to recess when we get there, and Mr. Gillen can then say, all right, so, no members of the public, but we're going to have to wait until he shuts it down. He's like...